a monster, a brute, a spoiled prince obsessed only with his next fight. For many players, Zenos yae Galvus was a low point in Final Fantasy XIV's incredible lineup of villains. He's often called one-dimensional, boring, and a total departure from the complex antagonists we've come to expect. He doesn't have the grand political ambitions of his countrymen, or the deep philosophical motives that make other villains so memorable. But what if that's the entire point? What if his terrifying simplicity isn't a failure of writing, but a deliberate and brilliant choice? Because Zenos isn't meant to be deep like Emmett Selk. He's meant to expose something uncomfortable about us. Beyond the crown and the monstrous strength lies the broken core of a man who cares for nothing. Today, we uncover the unspoken truth about Zenos yae Galvus, and how the writers created a villain whose chilling apathy makes him the perfect foil for a hero sworn to save everyone. To appreciate the genius of Zenos, we first need to understand the mountain of criticism against him. For many, his character is frustratingly simple, and on the surface, those complaints are completely valid. His motivation is repetitive and shallow. He just wants to fight. That's it. As he says himself, man should fight for the joy of it, to live, to eat, to breed. Lesser beasts snap and howl at one another for this. Only man has the wisdom and the clarity to embrace violence for his own sake. This makes him a bizarre anomaly, especially in an expansion like Stormblood, which is arguably the most politically charged story the game has ever told. It's a story about liberation, about the oppressed rising up against the Garlean Empire. And yet, Zenos, the main antagonist and a Garlean prince, is completely uninterested in any of it. He doesn't care about ruling, imperial glory, or his own people. This creates a really jarring feeling. While you're fighting for the very soul of two nations, he just pops in and sees how strong you've gotten, like a reoccurring boss battle with no deeper meaning. That frustration is amplified by how the game presents him. For your very first encounter at Rhalgar's Reach, he is shown to be an unstoppable force. He casually strolls through a battlefield and steamrolls your allies and defeats you with almost insulting ease. For a lot of players, this overwhelming power feels unearned. You, the warrior of light, the slayer of gods and savior of the realm, are suddenly and repeatedly humbled by a man whose only personality trait is being really good at fighting. When you finally beat him, it can feel less like a satisfying victory and more like you just finally passed a gear check. So, you have a villain with a one-track mind who feels disconnected from the core themes of his own expansion, and whose power feels more like a game mechanic than a story element. It's no wonder so many people write him off as a shallow brute. But stopping there means you miss the genius of his design. To understand Zenos, you have to look at what he's missing. That emptiness so many people criticize in Zenos, that isn't a flaw in his character. It is his character. He is a void, a man hollowed out by a lifetime of absolute power and profound emotional neglect. His mother, Carosa, died shortly after he was born, and his father, Emperor Varus, was a distant figure consumed by imperial duties. Raised by tutors who saw him as an assignment, not a child, Zenos became a prodigy in everything he tried, yet found no joy in any of it, except for combat. This is where it all started. His first real exhilarating challenge came from a foreign swordsman forced to train him. For 2 weeks, Zenos couldn't land a blow. Then, he did what he always did. He watched, adapted, and stole the technique. When the tutor finally tried to kill him, Zenos ended it in a single strike. And in that moment, all he felt was a profound emptiness. The only person who could challenge him was gone, and he was left desperately chasing that feeling of being pushed to the brink. His power and royal position were a chore, not a privilege, a cage, not a throne. The only time he ever felt alive was on the hunt. And this is the unspoken truth. Zenos is designed to be the perfect twisted mirror to the hero. His obsession with combat isn't just a simple motivation. It's a dark reflection of the Warrior of Light's own existence. Think about it. As the player, your entire journey is defined by conflict. You go from one battle to the next, facing stronger and stronger enemies, growing more powerful with every win. At your core, you are a problem solver whose main tool is violence. And Zenos gets this. He sees you, the God Slayer, not as a savior, but as a kindred spirit, the only other person who truly understands the high of a real fight. But where the hero finds purpose in saving others through battle, Zenos finds purpose only in the battle itself. He even acts as a kind of dark benefactor, letting the rebellions in Alamigo and Doma grow, not as some political strategy, but to literally cultivate you into a worthy opponent. He isn't trying to stop you, he's trying to grow you. And when he finally calls you his first and only friend, it's a genuinely chilling moment. He sees you as his equal, not because of your morals, but because you are the only one who can give his empty life meaning through a worthy death match. This leads to the final terrifying layer of his character, his pure apathy. Unlike someone like Emmett Selk, who is driven by a tragic, understandable goal, Zenos has no grand cause. He isn't fighting for his country. He isn't driven by a complex philosophy. And he isn't a cackling sadist. His evil comes from a terrifying void of feeling. He murders his own father and halts Black Rose, not for power, but because a clean, clinical victory would steal the only thing he wants, the rematch. He plunges the Empire into chaos because consequences don't matter to him. Only the hunt does. And in Endwalker, that same emptiness drives him to the edge of existence itself, chasing one final duel at the end of all things. Because if the world ends, but he gets that fight, then to him, it was worth it. His terror doesn't come from some master plan. It comes from the fact that he is completely free from the rules of morality, duty, and consequence that bind everyone else. He's an untamed force of nature, driven by a single selfish desire. When you put it all together, Zenos yae Galvus succeeds as a villain because of his simplicity, not in spite of it. The writers took a huge risk putting a character so removed from politics and morals at the center of Stormblood's very political story. Where other villains challenge your ideals, Zenos challenges the very nature of your existence as a protagonist. He holds up a mirror and makes you face the uncomfortable truth that your journey, just like his, is a path paved with violence. He is what the warrior of light could become without friends, without a cause, without anything to ground them but the thrill of the next fight. He is the terrifying, logical endpoint of a life defined only by the hunt for more power. Zenos isn't scary because of what he does, but because of what he is. A void. An empty man who found his one and only purpose in a hero sworn to save everyone. And in a world of heroes fighting for a cause, the most terrifying villain is the one who has none. So, what are your thoughts on Zenos? Does his simplicity make him a weaker villain? Or is there a hidden depth that makes him one of Final Fantasy XIV's most memorable characters? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy taking a closer look at the lore of your favorite games, think about subscribing for more. Alright, my friend. Thank you so much for watching.